One top gym owner opened a successful big group gym and then replicated it. Now he's got two similar world-class facilities. So why open a third gym with a different model? Together with Carl Solberg, Oskar Johed owns CrossFit Medis and CrossFit Sickla in Sweden, and he's just opened Aspire Personal Training, where he is right now. It's a small group training facility, very different from his other two. So why did he do it, and will he be rewarded? You're going to get the answers today on Run a Profitable Gym. I'm your host, Mike Warkentin. Please hit subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Oskar, welcome in your new gym. This looks great.
Thank you, sir.
Are you ready to roll over there? It looks like a fantastic facility.
We're kind of feel at home now. We've been open a few months now and super excited to bring some fitness to the people that live around this gym.
So it's long enough that you've got a few handstand push-up, kick-up holes in the wall and some chalk on the floor and all that stuff, or not quite?
Well, we might have had a few people that do box push-ups, and a few people in a plank position, but maybe we can get a handstand push-ups in the future.
We're going to talk about that because that's a little different than your CrossFit gyms. You're doing something different here. So let's get right into it. What's the short answer here? What do you hope to accomplish in this third gym that has a very different model?
Well, the goal is the same, is to fundamentally improve the health and quality of our members and their families. Mm-hmm. And that's been our goal since 2014 when we opened Medis. And Medis and Sickla are thriving. We are deeply ingrained in the CrossFit community, like large group. Even though our gyms are, by North American standards, maybe smaller, we run no more than 12 people per class because that's like all we can fit. Mm-hmm. But we can't find real estate. We want to help more people. We want to create opportunities for staff to maybe run a gym or have more trainers to do this amazing job full time. But we've been looking for years for that type of space that is 3, 4, 5, 6,000 square feet gyms, and we can't find them here in Stockholm. Mm-hmm. So we had to go a different route, and like smaller spaces. This one is workout space might be 80 square meters, like less than 1,000 square feet. I think it comes out to something like that. And so we can't let the real estate market dictate our hopes and dreams of making people fitter. So we have to pivot a tiny bit. Like it's very different in some ways and the exact same thing in other ways. So if we can make this work, which we think we can do, we want to open up far more gyms because we still think that we can help people fundamentally improve their health and quality of life.
So the mission remains exactly the same. You're just going to do that same thing in a different space. And we're going to talk about exactly what you're doing there. So when we say small group, which is what you're doing over there, what are we talking about? How is this different from what you're doing at the other two gyms?
Yeah. So at CrossFit Medis and Sickla, we run more of a traditional, like, as I said, max 12 people, maybe 14 if the workout permits, but generally like 12-on-1 is what we run, like group classes.
Yep, so big group model, sure.
Yep, sure. And what might be slightly different than some gyms, but I think more and more commonly now is we do a lot of personal training. And it's not necessarily because something we like aspired to do. It just happened naturally. People asked us for it and we started providing those services to members. And that caught on. I think we started just doing no sweat intros, and we asked that question of like, hey, would you like to start one-on-one or in a group? And lo and behold, some people said, we'd like to start one-on-one. Even though Carl and I said that's ridiculous. Why would anyone?
It'll never happen.
No, it's never going to happen. And then we started doing goal reviews and asked people if they want to progress faster, and some people said sure.
Yes.
And so it just happened naturally. And then at some point, May of 2023, we delivered 919 one-on-one 30-minute sessions. Yes, it was amazing financially. It was great. Our members got great results, but we were starting to see that we burn out staff. Like it wasn't because they were doing back to back 30-minute sessions, and it was financially rewarding. But we felt that we have to get out of this. This is not going to work. We're going to burn out people. So there were some other people in Two Brain that were doing far more semi-private. So we started bundling people together, and we're doing that. So Sickla and Medis are like a large group, or it might be smaller for some, but like max 12 people, a traditional like CrossFit model. And then a lot of personal training, but we do it in groups of between 3 and 6. But they're doing individualized programming. So
we'll call that the semi-private model, where
Yes,
they've got
that's
their own
yeah.
programs, but one coach is serving several PT clients at once in the same room with high skill.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's something we have become really proficient at. Well, here it's a small group facility. People that come in, that we had a class or a session just in the 20 minutes ago, they're doing the same stuff, but there are far less people in the room, which means that we can personalize or pay more attention, obviously, because if it's only maximum 6 people versus 12 or 14, then by just math, you can serve them, twice as much.
So the key distinction here is you've got about 6 people in a group at Aspire, but they're all doing a variation of the same workout with, obviously, like, your coaches are experts and they're going to tailor this workout to each person specifically. And they'll do it with more efficiency than they can in a group of, say, 12 or more, but they're doing essentially the workout of the day. Is that right?
Yeah. And so far, since we're relatively new, like, we haven't had, I think we had a few classes or sessions where there's been 6 people, but currently I think 3 to 4 or 5 people is where we currently are. And it's a very different experience, and because you don't necessarily get that rah type thing do you get from a larger class. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, you don't get as worn out from that stuff. So there's stuff like, I have the benefit of doing both, which is awesome. Mm-hmm. And all the coaches that have been here, they like the combination of both. But some parts is very different, but also it's the exact same thing. We're doing thrusters and burpees and pull-ups. But here the demographic is, at this location, is also, we have our Cycla and Medis are 45 plus individuals, but here's probably 50 and far further closer to the 6 spectrum. Not necessarily in terms of like obesity and so on, but just in physical performance or health markers, in terms of like being able to move large loads long distances quickly and that stuff. So we have an 84-year-old lady. She's crushing it. She's here, and so I think the youngest member here is closer to 50 than 40.
Okay, so you're solving a problem that pops up. Personal training is a great thing in terms of revenue and results for the clients, but it's hard to deliver at a huge scale, because if you do 8 personal training sessions, or a staff member does 8 personal training sessions, that'll swallow your soul. That becomes very difficult to give you a really, really high level of service and to maintain that over a month. Like, it's very difficult. So semi-private, small group are 2 great ways to start scaling up, delivering excellent service, but serving more people at the same time. Talk to me about how do the rates for this compare for your small group? How does that compare to your semi-private and your group classes?
Yeah, so at Cycla and Medis are like 3 times a week is $175, which I'd say probably like 40-50% more than the average. Okay. And personal training, so we can, a one-on-one 30-minute session, yes, is the same as a semi-private session of 50 minutes. So we asked them, hey, would you like to do essentially 50 minutes or 30 minutes of fitness for $70? And almost everyone goes, well, 50, of course. So we charge, as I said, like $175 for 3 times a week, $185 for 4.5, whatever it comes out to, and essentially $70 for every semi-private session. That's at Cycla and Medis. And here it's like $35 per session. So most people here are doing like twice a week, so it's like $70 a week. Okay. And so it comes out to somewhere like closer to 300. So if let's say you're doing 2.5 times a week, if that would be possible, it comes out to like $300 a month, US dollars. And where it also becomes interesting, like, it's obviously we had no other choice. This is the way we have to operate if we want to train more people. But this space here, I think we pay like $3,000 here, which means if we have 10 members, essentially we cover, like it obviously doesn't cover everything, but it covers rent at least for that. If you look at Medis and Cycla, I think specifically at Medis, I think we pay $112K a month or so. And if you have 175 members, $175 US per member, you need 80, 90 members or so. So from a risk perspective, and we bought this gym. It was kind of like an open gym type fitness studio. So the risk was kind of low, and it was completely kitted out with amazing Eleiko equipment. So we thought, hey, the risk is relatively low. We can just offload the equipment if needed. But, we think that we can still provide an amazing service and help people with their health. So this is where we're here. And so far, I think the route here, we could have gone like the semi-private route, but, at the same time, we kind of like, it's play on words, or what is it like? Because our coaches are really good, even though they're doing the same workout of the day per se. They're still gonna, like, the 84-year-old lady is gonna have some modifications that are different than the 47-year-old dude that is an ex-triathlete. So, but it's from a selling perspective, it's easier. We sell one product essentially. We do offer one-on-one personal training as well, but a one-on-one 50-minute session is $130, while a session with no more than 5 other people is $35. So we try hard not to sell personal training one-on-one.
Oskar, you sound a hell of a lot like a CEO and a business owner rather than a guy. I mean, we haven't debated the hip crease below the knee, even once yet. We're talking like business models. That's weird.
Yeah.
Back in 2013, we wouldn't have done that. We would have just bought the biggest space we could find, tried to fill it, probably lost money for 5 or 7 years, got Chris Cooper to fix it, and then got our acts together. And you've done the other thing where now you've got your act together. The other 2 gyms, you're just picking a business model. You've got the pricing. You've got the whole structure. You figured out, I need this many people to break even on this space. I've got the equipment as an extra resource. And all of a sudden, you're operating like a business owner, CEO, as opposed to someone who's just writing trading programs and cleaning up chalk. So this is a cool evolution, because that wasn't the case back in the day. So let me ask you this. Challenges and advantages in a small group gym. What are you seeing in the early stages of Aspire that's different from your other spaces?
I think one of the challenges is probably that there aren't too many other gyms doing this. So there are a few personal training, like one-on-one traditional personal training studios, where it's more of a status thing to be a member there. So it's more of the traditional like health club type thing, like one-on-one. And then there's some large group facilities as well. And to our knowledge, there are very few that are doing the same thing as us.
So you got to carve out a market for it here.
Yes, but also like we're laying the tracks as we kind of go. So it's kind of hard to explain to someone, like you can get personal training for $130, you can get personal training essentially for $35. And they're like, well, how can you give the same? We can't, but it's very similar. So that is I think it's more of like probably more of a problem or issue in our heads, but that's something we're trying to explain. Like we can't just point to say, we're doing what they're doing, just but better. So we have to like, are you group? Well, kind of. Are you personal training? Well, kind of. And we, like when we look at it, it's kind of like, hey, there's generally 3 facets of fitness. There's one-to-one, which is awesome. But it's very, when you talk to clients, it's very expensive. It's like, everything is tailored to you. Then there's traditional 30, 40, 50 people in a room where it's all of rah-rah. It's low price, and it's not necessarily anything else than the instructions on how to turn the knob on your bike. And we're there in the middle. We can get like both. And then people kind of understand what we are doing. So I think that has been maybe a challenge, maybe even big of a challenge in our brain. Like when people come in here, they don't ask if we're doing personal training or if we're doing group or is it CrossFit or like what is the thing. They come in here and they see that we, take care of them and we meet them where they are and we make sure that they squat below parallel if they can squat below parallel, and we do all those things. But it's I think we probably made it a bigger change or thing that it actually is. Like we still have to get people to come talk to us and understand that we can help them, and once they're here, they it's the same thing. They get kind of the community type feel when you work out with other people. But at the end of the day, we are trying to change the lives of people like one-on-one, one at a time, and I think that's where we are heading.
So an easy way that you're solving this is with a prescriptive model. When someone comes in, they tell you their fitness problem or their goals, and you figure out the solution or the path to those goals and tell them, here it is. You're going to meet me, 2.5 times a week, as you said, in a group of, 5 other people who have similar goals, but I'm going to tailor the workout to you and your fitness history and training age and dings and dents. And away we go. And they're like, cool. Because what you've shown them is the solution to their problems and the path to their goals. And you didn't have to go through all the other stuff of like, well, it's this person, it's the explaining the whole thing. You can just tell them this is the solution. And they're like, okay, cool. Like when a contractor comes to me and wants to build something for me, I don't ask him about like the physics of the whole thing. He just says, I can put that there and we're good. I'm like, yes, done, problem solved.
Yeah.
Are you also producing any content or any educational stuff to solve this problem? Or are you just doing it right through the prescriptive model in the No Sweat intro?
So right now we have been, so we kind of like, we got keys to the new castle in the spring, and then we essentially like launched it, so to say, right before summer. So then summer came and now we're like starting to pick it up. So we haven't really done a lot. We're probably going to do far more. And once again, like, I don't necessarily think we have to explain what we're doing. Like CrossFit Medicine Cycler, sure, they're CrossFit gyms. We had this discussion, we had a sales meeting today, and we do some role playing and you know, looking at the sales calls from last week and see what challenges we had. And we had this, you know, come up on a call. Like, I don't remember the last time I had to talk about what movements we're doing. Like, rarely do we get in a conversation of like, what type of fitness do you do? Or like, what equipment do you have? Like, that's years ago. So people come because we somehow have sure, they probably Google us and see, you know, stuff, what we're doing. But even if on Instagram and Facebook, we don't necessarily see a lot of working out type stuff. It's more of like, hey, you have this problem. We can maybe help you with this thing if you just come talk to us. So we are probably going to ramp up our messaging, but not necessarily talking about how we are running, you know, personal training, but in a group, but it's not large group, but it's small group. Because at the end of the day, for most people, that's not relevant. Like, they have a problem, and our job is to figure out if we can help them. And the benefit here, which is also might be a constraint, but like, because we know that we are only running class up to 6 people or sessions, like we have somewhere in the back, there's like 3 bikes and 3 rowers. That's all we need. And there's a lot of stuff we don't need. And if someone comes in with, hey, I want to have an open gym or whatever, we just say no. We'll essentially say, we think we can solve your problem. And if we can do it, we can do it twice a week, 3 times a week, or maybe 4 times a week. So how quickly do you want to have your fitness, you know, needs met? So it makes it easier for us. We've obviously turned away some business because some people want different stuff. But, you know, eventually I think this is going to make it easier for maybe open up new locations. We have one thing, it's like, this is the burger we offer, and it you know, we're going to make a darn good burger, but if you want a pizza or sushi, we're not the place for you.
Yeah. You know, it's fascinating because, as you know, like we've tried to solve the answer, what is CrossFit, for like over a decade now, to try and explain that whole thing. And like, it's a hard thing to explain it, to communicate with a broader market on that. But what you're doing, as I said, with that prescriptive model is like, you don't have to define your method. You're just taking what the client needs and saying, here's how you do it. And here's the speed at which you can do it. Do you want to sign up? And they're like, yeah, 3 times a week, let's go. And you're like, good, done. And then they just show up and you tell them what to do. They don't have to know what they're doing. They just know that they're working toward their goals. And so it's really a fascinating way around the method to just solve problems for clients. And I think that's such a fascinating thing that you're doing. You mentioned a couple of advantages, and I'll just reiterate a few of them. You can tack some more on. You're in a very small facility in the sense that like you don't have a massive overhead. You're not like trying to fill 17,000 square feet or something like that. In a small space, you got limited equipment where you don't have to buy 70 barbells or 16. You got probably 5 or 6 or whatever it is, and they're beautiful Eleiko bars. That takes a lot of pressure off, where you don't have to get a million clients with that. I imagine also, because you're working very closely with clients, I imagine the retention and the relationships are going to be in really good shape. What other advantages do you see in the small group model?
I think, as I said, I think if you do large group predominantly, I think it's going to be, one is very hard to build a career doing large group. Yes. Purely. I think the financial for most gyms doesn't add up, and I think, at least for myself, you know, you burn out. I like, you know, if I had to choose one of them, I prefer the larger group. I grew up on a, you know, sports teams environment. I like the banter that goes on in larger, you know, settings. But from a sustainability perspective, if you want the longevity of a coach in a large group is limited compared to this. So if you can balance out some of that stuff, and we have that at Mystic Club, but even here, like, because it's a smaller space, when we have 6 people, like, you know, it surely if you look across, you know, the room is not that big, but it's 6 people working relatively close to each other. You know, it's not too different than a like our vision of a great CrossFit class. So
It's got a vibe for sure.
right, it for sure does. And so coming back to the longevity of it, I think it's easier to stay in the business, I believe, if with this model for the coaches. So I think that would be a benefit. And then to your point as well, like especially where we're located, like I think leg is going to be good. This is a suburb here, and people don't leave here, so they live here, and sure, it's slightly slower than around Medicine Sickla. They're slightly more central, but I think leg is going to be very high here, because unless we screw up completely, people are going to stick around because we solve their problem. Like these are, this is obviously a very, very affluent area we're in, and we couldn't open this type of facility like anywhere. It would be ludicrous for me to say something like that. However, they also have higher expectations, and they know the standard of good, regardless, like in other aspects of life. So we really have to deliver top-notch service. But when we can show them that we can take care of fitness in a very simple way for them, and twice a week might be all they can do, they're still gonna, in many cases, improve their fitness and eventually only like maintain, but at a higher level. They're going to be happy. They are super happy that they've outsourced that responsibility to us. So I think leg is going to be slightly slower in terms of growth, but also leg is going to be higher. And as I said, it is a slightly different vibe. It is slightly slower, which means that you don't really have to be a clown the entire, from 6 a.m. in the morning till 7 p.m. at night.
Yeah. And we know from data that PT and the closer relationships produce better length of engagement and retention than the big groups. And that's just by default. So you're doing a version of that where your leg is definitely going to be better. And then you pointed out an interesting thing, and I'll tell you listeners, I was digging into our state of the industry data that's going to come out in late November, and rates for coaching big group classes are not going up. Right. So Oskar was talking about that as a staff member. Can you coach 8 classes a day for $25 an hour? That's tough to do. And the financial reward isn't spectacular. So this is a solution to a problem there, because like I said, those rates aren't going up fast enough to make it like I can make a great living coaching 8 hours a day. And again, let's be real. Can you coach 8 hours a day and still deliver great service? I couldn't. Oskar, I don't think you could. You're a better coach than I am, but it's still very, very difficult to do it. I don't think a lot of listeners could do it. So let's move on to metrics here. And I know you're in the early stages here. How is the new facility performing compared to the others? And again, if you don't have all of that, that's okay. But just give me a snapshot based on what you do see already.
Yeah. So at this, like we obviously don't, because he only runs 6-person sessions. It's if everybody wants to come in the morning, eventually we're going to hit like a ceiling. But we believe that we can probably cap out at 100. I think if people are spread out relatively evenly across like mornings, middays, and afternoons, I think 100 people is going to be optimal. I think 80 might be a slightly more realistic number in terms of people tend to be wanting more, like middays are relatively slower because it's a suburb and people are in the city working. So that's where we're like working towards. Like 80 is probably like a good number. And as I said, if we break even, if you just look at breaking even from a facility perspective, let's say all in, exclude the variable cost of running the sessions, like 4,000 would be, I think, okay, let's say 5,000. That would cover a lot of marketing and some giveaways, because obviously these clients are slightly, they expect a few things, but 5K would cover everything except the variable cost of running sessions.
That's like 15 to 20 members, right? Something like that?
Right. And if we can go to 80, maybe 100, it's a hockey stick. Hockey season starts pretty soon, right? But it's going to be like a hockey stick type thing. And obviously we can then here pay our coaches far more here, because we don't not have the same ability. They can still run personal training one-on-one sessions, but we've priced it in a way that we don't want that, which means that you would technically say they run like a class or a session, but instead of paying them the $25, you say we could eventually pay them 50, 60. So it would be like probably even more, depending on where it comes up to. So, we can, and so that's going to be a pretty decent opportunity for someone. So that's the metrics from, where we are from the metrics. So right now, I think we have, let's say 25-ish individuals that are paying us regularly, which essentially is that we can cover that with 3 classes a day. So,
and you're breaking even already.
Right. So, and
Brilliant.
I was here today, I was working and I was coaching the morning class and then, or the session and then lunch and here. So now, so I was doing all my, working on the business type stuff. And then I just, slid my computer to the side and then, coach a session and then did a thing. So if I would just look at it could essentially be you need to put a person on the floor 4 hours a day. So that costs, you don't need someone here the entire day because we don't have walk-ins. Like everything is by appointment, which means that technically, I can come here as a person that spends not too many hours on the floor these days, but I can still come here like once a week. I can take Mondays and I coach 3 sessions. Carl can take Tuesdays. Our other GM from 2 locations can come, so we can cover, the needs of the sessions relatively well. And as I said, we don't have any walk-ins. We don't have to worry about that. All appointments are done. We do a lot of sales over phone. So the financials could be extremely beneficial if we can get those numbers that we're aiming to. And that's obviously one thing, but and it's great if we can allocate more money to staff because our overhead is lower. That's going to be amazing, which means that we can keep them longer in this industry and we can pay them really, really well, which is amazing. But also we're making an impact here on these people's lives. Like Betty is 84 years old, I think, and like she's deadlifting and doing burpees and other stuff. So like there's extremely rewarding to have the opportunity to help more people. So yes, we do look at the financials that look rewarding. We can also provide opportunity for staff, which is great. But another metric that is really important to us is actually for every tick, every member, every individual that signs up is where we can alleviate some pressure on the healthcare system because it's even though we're maybe not as bad as in Canada and for sure not as bad as US yet, but we're catching up pretty quickly. So if we can be like a lifeboat in the tsunami of chronic disease and really unfit states, then I think we can at least make a dent into that negative statistic.
Yeah, and that's a key point. Like you said, for you to help more people, you couldn't really find the spaces there wasn't a lot of spaces available. So you made a space and you're going to make it work and you're going to help people in that space and you're going to do a great job of it. You've got a small space, a sustainable business model. You've got not a lot of pressure on staffing. You break even is a low number. You've got the possibility for great financial reward. You've got a high value product, so higher ARM. You've got great length of engagement because you're a great coach and you're working very closely with people. This all sounds like a great business model. I'll ask you this. You hinted at it. Where are you going to find the 80 people that you might need? What are you doing to market?
So we've always relied heavily on Facebook advertising. And so for Cicla and Medis is still working extremely well. Here it's been slightly different. Like we don't the messaging does have to be different because at Cicla and Medis we're not offering, we're not like marketing CrossFit. We're just asking if we can help them. But it is slightly different in this suburb than there is in there. So we tried some Facebook ads. They're not performing poorly, but here it's probably going to be far more affinity type marketing stuff.
Right, some referrals and asking, hey, can you bring a partner in for a free workout, that kind of thing? Yeah. Yeah,
and I think so. What we're going to do is we're talking to the local tennis club and see if we can invite them in. And we're like the golf club, and so. We can ask for one-on-one type of stuff, but that technically we only need every current client of ours to get 4 clients, and then we're more than full. But
right,
I've been in the business for 11 years. I still have members that have been with us for 11 years that haven't brought a single friend in. It's not because they haven't asked; it's because their friends, for some reason, haven't felt the need or whatever to come in. So if we can just talk to the local tennis club that has 600 or 700 members and they can somehow find how we can help them. Like if it's only offering them a 6-week course of figuring out how to warm up for your tennis, that's going to be great. But I think a lot of these people can drop over. So instead of doing the one-on-one, we're going to try. We still do that. We ask our current clients for friends and families, but we're going to see if we can talk to someone that has more people behind them. And we haven't tried that in the past. And if that works, we tried some of companies for Cicla and Medis because they're more central, which means that we get some companies that work out and we can talk to the HR department, but there are very few businesses here. So our goal is to find Lions Club or Rotary Club or the tennis club or the golf club or congregations of people so we can see if we can help these people.
Oskar just laid out his exact marketing plan. He's going to do a little bit of advertising, but he's going to work harder to connect with current clients and find the people connected to them, affinity marketing, and get those people in there. And the beauty of it all is that, as he said, he doesn't need to find 350 people, which is really hard, and retain them. He needs to find about 80, and he's already got 15 or 20, and they probably have friends and spouses and so forth. So like you can see how this snowball goes pretty quickly at low cost. And listeners, if you are not running a referral program or you know exactly how to ask your clients for referrals, you need to start doing that right now. The referral funnel is one of the most valuable things a gym owner can do, and it comes at zero cost except for your time. And all you have to do is ask your clients as part of the prescriptive model. I'll put a link in the show notes to the prescriptive model. It'll lead you through that and tell you when and how you should ask clients for referrals. Oskar, I won't keep you much longer because I know you got to do some muscle ups on the rings back there. I'll ask you this one. Expert advice, because you are a two-brain mentor, a long-term one. What is your expert advice for someone who's thinking about adding small group training or opening a small group gym? What would you tell them? What's the big deal?
Like, I try to stay away from absolutes because it's easy to say like it's obviously it depends.
Yeah.
But there, like if I talk from our experience and from the clients I worked with, and like it's an obvious value add because we're not doing this for us. We're doing it because there is a need for in the market, and in this specific case, this is one of the only options we have, and we still serve clients really well. So I think it makes great financial sense, which is awesome. And if you look at from our medicine cicla, we didn't introduce personal training because we wanted it. It was something our clients asked for. And it's really helping them and, helping our staff a lot. Like I think, as I said, right before we got on here, last week at Cicla and Medis, our 5 personal trainers delivered semi-private worth $12,000 right? And it is as PR week. So, and it's once again, they just ask if people want some extra help, and they're doing a phenomenal job in addition to running group classes. So I think that you need really strong reasons for not offering this. Is my opinion. There might be some people that have strong reasons, but instead of saying like, why should you, is probably like the question is probably like, why not? Because it makes sense for on so many levels. And so like for us, it's a no-brainer now. It's for the longevity of our clients and our staff, and having a business model that is slightly more anti-fragile. Now, we only run CrossFit group classes at the other gyms. Like we've always been tempted to run the hierarchy. Like I have nothing against those things, or gymnastics programs or weightlifting one. Our spaces doesn't necessarily, we don't have the capacity. And we've decided from the start that, hey, well, let's try to do one thing really well. So I'm envious of the people who have the sports performance and they're doing hierarchy and they're doing gymnastics and weightlifting, all that stuff. But the simplicity in the model for both Cicla and Medis, and here it's even simpler. So offering or opening a small group studio like this makes a lot of sense because you there's far lower risk than the large group model stuff. And if you're not doing semi-private or small group in your current facility, if that's like a large group type fitness space, it absolutely makes sense. And like we started with 0 clients in personal training, like everyone else, and then got 1, and then 0, and then 4, and 2, and 6, and 9, and May 2023, 919 sessions. Like so, it like we didn't go from 0 to 100 or 919. And same thing here. We like. It's a gradual approach, but we meet people where they are, figure out what's best for them, ask them. And that's how I think our business has become stable. And, it's even better than stable. So that's a long-winded answer to say the question probably like, why not? And if someone doesn't want it because they're against their way of the fitness should be done, or they don't want to spread themselves too thin or whatever the reason might be, that's perfectly fine. But if you don't have a really strong reason, I think the numbers, if no other thing, talks really well in your favor, as well as disregard the fact that people pay a higher price for it, which they are going to see. I'd be very surprised if people don't see greater results and a hedge against sickness if they do more personal training or individualized or small group personal training.
I'm going to tell you, listeners, my advice is to do what Oskar did and put together a plan. If you're thinking about doing this, put together a plan and don't just like write it on a napkin and throw some numbers in the air. Sit down and make an actual spreadsheet and figure out what is break even. How am I going to get there? How am I going to sell this thing? Where am I going to put it? Or how am I going to add it? Who's going to staff it? Answer all those questions and get the numbers down. And if they make sense, run ahead with it. If they don't make sense, do not do it. And I'll give you the easy button. The easy button is to talk to a mentor like Oskar, who can tell you exactly what to do when, so you don't make any mistakes. Had I had that plan in 2011, things would have gone very different for me. It can go very different for you. So before you start changing everything, I would encourage you book a call via the link in the show notes. Talk to a mentor who's done what you want to do and can tell you where the pitfalls are, where the benefits are, how to make it happen faster, how to reach profitability very quickly, and so forth and whatnot. That link is in the show notes. You can talk to someone who will help you do this. Oskar, thanks so much for sharing everything, including your detailed plan on small group training. I wish you the best in that new facility. It looks fantastic.
Thanks, Mike.
Stand up for a second. Let us see the whole thing. Look at that. Ooh, look at the kettlebells and everything. That's a beauty. There you go. And it's only going to take about, I like that. And you got the Lego bars in the background. Wow. So you're going to get to profitability with about 15, 20 people, large profitability with 80. Going to help change a lot of people, change their lives, get rid of some chronic disease, and make a difference in Sweden. Thanks, Oskar.
Thank you.
That was Oskar Johed. This is Run a Profitable Gym. Thanks for watching and listening. Please hit subscribe wherever you are for more shows just like this. And now here's Two Brain founder Chris Cooper with a final message.
Hey, it's Two Brain founder Chris Cooper with a quick note. We created the Gym Owners United Facebook group to help you run a profitable gym. Thousands of gym owners just like you have already joined. In the group, we share sound advice about the business of fitness every day. I answer questions, I run free webinars, and I give away all kinds of great resources to help you grow your gym. I'd love to have you in that group. It's Gym Owners United on Facebook or go to gymownersunited.com to join. Do it today.